People just want to eat, right? But do you really want to have control over your body fat and your lean mass and your weight? Do you want to be somebody that's controlled by food or somebody that's controlling food? It's a miserable mental battle. You don't have to think that way, promise you. But let me tell you, if you gain the skill of planning, man, you can really start to put some change in your life. On a bigger picture, discipline unlocks potential and is the foundation of any life change. Listen, I'm really starting to become a golf fan. Literally, you're going to kill some of yourself. Woo! It's a hot one today. 93, and you know, my air conditioning unit needs a charge. And it's warm in here. It's very warm, which means we get to crack that cold liquid death. Yeah. Starting to really love these things. Oh, man. So good. That is a treat now. God bless. All right, here we go. Episode 37. That's 30 plus 7 or 35 plus 2. 20 plus 27. No, 20 plus 37 for you new mathers out there. You know, I know how you think. Wait a minute. It's episode 38. Let's go. Episode 38. That's where we're at. That's where it's at. We get into this. A lot of applause today. Get myself organized. Goal of this episode, the exact same as the last episode, 37. This is called Nutritional Progression. Nutritional Progression Part 2, episode 38. Goal of this episode is the exact same goal of the last episode because we're just continuing it. This one's long, you know, and I'm hot. So I'm already sweating, which isn't good. So I might, we'll see. I'll probably just, finish through it, but I might turn this into 3 parts. There was a lot more writing about the details of the different levels of progression than I had anticipated. And I don't even have the third one finished, which is macros, spoiler alert. But I'll talk about it a little bit. I've talked about counting macros a lot, but, that's kind of where it's at. So the first 2 sections are pretty long. Maybe who knows? We're going to find out. I don't even know. Yeah. My Lord. Outline of topics, updates before we get started. We're going to the article, and then we'll have some final thoughts. Not a lot of topics there, just 4. Outline of topics, 4. It's more like the agenda, maybe. I don't know what that is. Updates, here we go. Golf was nuts. Listen, I'm really starting to become a golf fan. And if you like sports and you like competition, you like to watch people compete and see the best come out in people and sometimes not the best, then hey, you can get that out of golf if you just learn how the game goes. And this is really my first year of consistently watching it. And it was super interesting this time. I don't know if I can explain the details, but man, it came down to the last hole. And one guy, he was ahead by a stroke, if you understand golf and you watched it, but he was ahead by a stroke and then lost. So that sucks for him real bad. But the other guy was absolutely stoked to birdie the hole when the other guy bogeyed it. And he was up by 1. Worse, if you figured he was at least going to go par and they were going to go into a playoff. I'm like, oh my God, here goes another playoff. I'm not going to watch this. But it didn't. It actually finished. It's crazy. Tigers, best record in baseball. All of baseball, best record. It's close, but it is the best. Yeah. Weather, super hot. I mean, super hot. 97 kind of type hot. And then raining, and it's still 90. So that's fun, and that's why I'm sweating all the time. Subscriber update. Are you ready for this? Subscriber update. Email. Sorry. Email 62. YouTube goes from 123 to 124. Spotify sits at 30. But this is what's crazy. Apple 22 to 23. Where is it? Where's the button I want? Yeah, Apple, it moved. I have no idea why. I guarantee you it's been 30 episodes since that thing moved. And I was like, well, I guess I'll just log in and, see that it's still at 22 again. But it went up. I don't know what happened. Anyways, reminder, please submit your questions. Haven't had a question in a long time. Submit your questions to me. No, Dennis at DennisFenrich.com. One day, somebody's going to manage to know those messages, those questions for me, I'm sure. All right, let's get into this a little bit. This is let's get into this. Reminder, this is an unfinished article, right? You know, I said on the last episode, hey, I just got like too much was going on. I was kind of stuck. I wouldn't say I had writer's block. I wasn't writing well, and it was just taking forever to get anything to move forward on this thing. So finally, I was just like, forget it. I got other stuff I need to be doing. I didn't even know if I'd ever come back to it, to be honest. But when I said, I could kind of pull some stuff out of that and do a podcast, it really made me realize, like, yeah, I'm definitely going to come back to this article because it's not only a great article and a great way to think about, well, how am I going to progress myself in nutrition? And the fact that it's even thinking of it that way when I've never heard of this before. So, but also I'm like thinking like, oh my God, I could totally coach somebody through this progression, right? We could identify through consultation, hey, where's somebody at? Oh, here, tell me the things you've done and the things, where you have experience and where you've had some troubles, and kind of understand somebody and go, oh, you know what? It looks like here's a good starting place for you. Let's put this plan together. We can chat every week or every other week and keep updating and hold you accountable to it and keep it moving forward. Because if your client knows where you're trying to go and you know where you're trying to go, then the communication to get there is just so much easier. But when you or the client don't really know the end result, other than I want to lose 20 pounds or 50 pounds, like, oh, that's great. But do we know the path to that? Not really. We're going to try this, or we're going to try that. No, we're going to progress you from where you are in your current skill level with nutrition to this end result. And here's what's cool. This is what you want to do, or this isn't what you want to do. No, I don't want to get to that level. Okay, how far do you want to go? I don't want to count my macros and weigh my stuff, blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine. You don't have to want to do that. But the real question should be, because nobody really wants to do that. People just want to eat, right? But do you really want to have control over your body fat and your lean mass and your weight and all the other stuff? Well, yeah, I would love to have that. Okay, well, maybe learning the skills, what you need to do then. And so with that kind of thinking and that kind of conversation, right, you can really have a good relationship with your client and work as a team to get to where you're going. And if that took 3 years, like I said on the last episode, if it took 5 years and, cost you whatever amount of money to get to that point, is it worth it? I bet you it is. In fact, I know it is because, well, whatever. This sounds like I'm bragging about myself, so I ain't going to say that. But I've been doing it for a long time, and it's really nice because it does so much for you mentally. Like, it just gets you past the whole food thing. I mean, do you really want to, like, beat yourself up every time you eat something you, quote unquote, shouldn't eat? I mean, that's miserable. It's a miserable mental battle, and you don't have to think that way. Promise you. First episode, we covered the concept, kind of outlined the concept. This episode, we're going to go through the 3 steps, the 3 different levels where you kind of start at, So that's the plan. All right, let's get into this. 2 more for good measure. All right, so per usual, I'm going to be reading, all right, and I'll be commenting as we go. I got to remember to I laughed a second ago because every time, if you're watching, like I hold this thing off and then the camera starts refocusing and it's dumb. But if you're just listening, you don't know what's going on with that. And I think that's like 97.7% of you guys. All right, so the first jumping into things, like, remember we talked about like, hey, there's a person out there who's never, ever thought about changing their diet, and they just, make their food selections based on what's available and what tastes good. All right. So this category or this style or this nutritional approach is where they're going to be. Here we go. This is a basic nutritional approach. I call it yes or no. The yes or no nutritional approach. Skill levels, beginner. Knowledge gained, a simple framework of food, and ability gained, discipline. And something I'm doing, I'm still working that part over, right? So you saw maybe some stuff pop up on the screen, or you get the idea right here. The nutritional approach is yes or no. The skill level is beginner. The knowledge, because we talked about before, your skill level is your knowledge or your understanding of nutrition plus some ability to do it, right? So in the beginning, it's going to be a basic knowledge of food and the discipline to apply that, right? So those 2 things put together kind of or your skill level, right? I say that because I don't quite know how I want to word this, but skill level beginner, knowledge gained, a simple framework of food, ability gained, discipline. So using your nutrition as a tool to increase your discipline is a wise thing to do. To the article, as mentioned earlier, your skill level is your knowledge of nutrition and your ability to apply it. Well, there it is. I was going to say it anyways. I'm just going to read. I'm going to stop talking. The knowledge gained from this nutritional approach is a basic understanding of food, viewing it simply as good or bad. This is not ideal, but we need a starting point to build from other than tasty or disgusting. LOL in parentheses, which is how plenty of people were brought up to think. Good or bad creates a framework of food as healthy and beneficial or unhealthy and potentially harmful. As you progress in your understanding of nutrition, this simple beginning will evolve into a more nuanced and accurate perspective. So it's a basic view of food. You have to start somewhere, and you're not going to start with proteins, carbs, and fats, I don't imagine. And this is a good place to start. You can say, hey, these are, we could create a category of good foods and a category of bad foods, and all we have to do is say yes or no along the way. All we have to do. Applying this approach will begin to develop the critical ability needed to change anything in our lives. Discipline. Without discipline, there could be no change. Therefore, it is the foundation of any nutritional approach, making it the first thing we need to work on if we are to gain control of what we eat. This is why step 1 to improving your nutrition is simply knowing when and being able to, which is italicized, to say yes or no. In parentheses, mostly no in the beginning. Yeah, that's a fact. Yes or no keeps the decision process as simple as possible. You don't have to navigate the complexities of whether a given food is okay at a given time or not, or how much, or any of that. All you have to do is say yes or no. You are in a battle in the beginning. Having clear boundaries allows you to know how to act in any given situation. Yes or no is as clear as it gets. On a bigger picture, discipline unlocks potential and is the foundation of any life change. Let me back up a little bit to the previous paragraph. All you have to do is say yes or no. And in the beginning, it needs to be that simple. We're going to get into a few different examples of having a yes-no approach because there's more than one. But you don't want complexity. You want to keep it really simple. That way, you're not fighting your biology as much, right? Because your brain is going to come up with these, if you have these other nuances that you're trying to include, there could become excuses or reasons to do something that you probably shouldn't be doing, right? Because you got to learn the basics. Yeah, this is how I'm looking at it. I don't know any other way around it. You could start in the middle, but I think this is a great place to start for somebody who's never tried to change their nutrition before. All right, on a bigger picture, discipline unlocks potential and is the foundation of any life change. Applying this approach can be used to develop that capacity. In other words, gaining control of your nutrition and health can be used as training grounds for gaining control of your life. And that's one of the main themes that runs through this, right? Get a bigger picture and don't think, all right, this is the thing I'm going to do. I'm going to learn, I'm going to gain control of my nutrition. I'm going to learn what nutrition is and learn how to nutrition my body properly. But have a bigger picture. You know what? That's great. I'm going to get that. It's going to be awesome, but it's not the end. I'm going to use this as a tool to develop my discipline, to develop my ability to change my behaviors. That's what I'm going to do with this nutrition. It's just a tool. And great, I'm going to be healthy. That's a given. I'm going to do that. It's not a problem at all. But what I'm really going to gain is this capacity to change my behavior through discipline. Back to the article. There are 3 options that take advantage of the yes-no approach that you can choose from. Let's quickly go through them. So there's basically 3 different variables of a yes-no approach, in my estimation. TRE is short for time-restricted eating. It narrows the window when you're going to eat, for example, from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., creating an 8-hour eating window. In this example, some typos. Depending on your skill level, you can adjust this to a larger or smaller window. Be sure that you don't make it so difficult that you keep failing. Pick a window that you can win. When you've made it without a hitch, not one mishap or slip up, then shrink the window. Something does not need to be super difficult for it to have an impact. It's not about seeing change in your biology in the beginning. It's about seeing improvement in your ability to guide your biology, which comes from your psychology. And in the beginning, it needs wins. So give it some. And this is This is huge to changing your behavior. Most people, you're told to pick a big, audacious, hairy goal. DUMB. Here's a great idea. Why don't you do something that's going to be so dang difficult that most likely you're going to fail? You think that's going to motivate you to go pick another goal? No. So what you should do is pick something that you know you'll do, that you believe you can do, that is a subtle change. And then what happens? Well, hopefully you do it. Okay? If you didn't, then guess what? It was still too difficult. Any change in the right direction is good, and that is what you want, because that is going to start upcycling your belief and your ability to actually create change. Big, hairy, audacious goals, so stupid. I get where they're coming from, okay? But for people who've never really set goals and tried to accomplish a goal before, bad idea, real bad idea. Pick something that it doesn't even need to be challenged. I'm telling you, it just needs to be changed in the right direction. You're going, oh, look what I did. And then well, if I did that, then I can do this. Oh, look what I did. Oh, look at this. It's been 3 months now, and I haven't had a can of pop. I started working with a girl. She's drinking pop every day. And one of the goals, and I'll just tell you the story. One of the goals was to stop drinking pop. So we kept picking a goal of like, all right, we're not going to drink pop this week. Oh, I had some pop. And we just talking, hey, how'd you do with pop? Oh, I had some pop. All right, what's your goal? Yeah, I don't want to drink pop. I'm not going to drink pop this week. We'll get on the phone. Oh, man, I had a couple cans of pop. Oh, okay, dang it. I was like, you know what? Forget all this. Can you just one day out of the week not drink pop? Just one day. You can have it every other day. She's like, all right, I can totally do that. Got on the phone. How'd it go? Yeah. Actually, I went 2 days. Oh, really? Yeah, great. All right, cool. Let's just keep it one though. I'm not even kidding you. Within 6 weeks, she was not drinking pop anymore. It was easy as pie. One of the biggest learning lessons I ever had with coaching people. All right. Anyways, back to the article. A second option is fasting. This is refraining from eating. So anyways, I didn't even talk about TRA. Time-restricted eating is basically creating an eating window. I'm going to eat between this time and that time. If it's this time, I'm not eating. If it's that time, I am eating, right? So super simple, yes or no. And it's a good way to what? Start to build discipline around your eating, because that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to teach yourself how to guide your biology to say no to something that it wants to do, all right? Okay, second option is fasting. This is refraining from eating for at least 24 hours. You can do this by skipping a day like Monday or Sunday, or you could stop eating on Sunday at 12 p.m. and not eat again until Monday at 12 p.m., which is a 24-hour fast. Either approach is good, so it's whatever you think is best for you. This would be more advanced than TRE, so starting with TRE might be a good idea to build up your discipline and your metabolism's ability to utilize stored energy, which is something it's going to have to do. Again, this is dependent upon your current skill level. I won't get into like the metabolism, I cover that a lot, but this is kind of taking it to the next level. I'm not going to just cut out, 18 hours or 15 hours a day where I'm going to eat. I'm going to go 24 hours without eating, right? And your metabolism does need some time to get used to pulling energy from the body instead of using energy coming in from your nutrition. So if you've never done that before, I probably wouldn't go with the 24-hour. I would set a time-restricted window. I'm going to eat in this 10-hour windows, 8-hour window, shrink that up, and then maybe go 24 if you want to progress yourself that way. All right. Third approach, remove foods like pop, chips, and alcohol, or adding in foods like vegetables or protein is another option for applying a yes-no approach. This is pretty clear-cut. Pick the food that your conscience is talking to you about and remove it as an option to go into your mouth. Or pick a food that you want to incorporate into your nutrition. Once you have been consistent with it for 6 to 12 weeks, remove or add another. Super simple, all right? You're just going to pick whatever, when I say whatever your conscience is talking to you about, what is it that's been on your mind that you need to change? That's your conscience talking to you. Pick one of those things. I know there's more than one. And put a plan together, okay? Another more nuanced approach to this, which I like a lot, is this, in the last paragraph on this section. You can also take this approach a step further and start by building a list of the foods you want to remove from your nutrition. So you build a list. With all the stuff that's talking to your conscience about what you want to change in your diet, build a list. Then organize it from hardest to easiest and start working your way up the list. Set a time frame like the one just mentioned. I will not eat this food for X amount of time without a hitch. If you mess up and eat the food, start the time frame over. Once you knock one thing off the list, put a line through it and start on the next. This is great because you see yourself progressing up the list, which is a nice psychological bump. Keep this list somewhere you can see it every day. You must keep what it is that you want to do in your consciousness as much as needed to get it done. You can't allow yourself to forget. You're going to have to see that list if you're going to put it together. So put it somewhere. You're going to see it every day and look at it. Don't just go, there it is. Look at it. You're going to battle, right? You're going to fight your way through this. And for some of it, it's going to be a fight. And you're going to have to put everything in your power and use all the tools you can to help you do that, all right? But that's very good. Like seeing yourself moving up towards your goal, very, very psychologically powerful. Okay, so that's the yes-no approach. Let's drink some water. Let's also take a minute to ensure everything is recording and thank our sponsor, CrossFit North Industry in Livonia, and all of its fine members who support us for reporting this podcast because it's paying the bills right now. All right, controlling food environments. So we had the yes-no approach. You want to get good at the yes-no approach. Spend time there. Don't be in a hurry. What if it took you a year to really get all that stuff cleaned up or 2 years to get all that stuff cleaned up? It took me that long back when I was 19. Right? I had to get rid of fast food. It took me a long time to get rid of fast food. You get that stuff kind of cleaned up and you're ready for the next level. And here it is. Controlling food environments. Skill level, intermediate. Knowledge gained. What food is. Ability gained. Planning. People hear that word and they just don't like it. But let me tell you, if you gain the skill of planning, man, you can really start to put some change in your life. All right, so let's get into this. In this approach, you will begin to understand food on a deeper level. It's no longer just a simple good or bad, healthy or unhealthy. You will now begin to see what foods really are. Proteins, carbs, fats, and vegetables. Healthy meals are combinations of those foods. Or these foods. I'm supposed to get spell checked or something. You will also level up your abilities by developing a new skill, planning. There it is again. So your knowledge gain is you're going to actually understand what food is, proteins, carbs, and fats. And the skill you're going to learn is planning. Planning is an essential skill that will increase your organization and improve how efficiently you utilize your time. This will happen by creating organization around your weekend day. Most nutrition planning is done weekly. I was a little bit, fix that wording at the end there when I get this thing out, whenever the heck that is. We all need to eat. I love stating the obvious. This can happen by accident or intentionally. If you want to live a healthy lifestyle and get good at nutritioning yourself, you would need to get organized around what you eat, i.e., having a plan. If you have never done this before, it may seem crazy, but not having a plan is crazy. Eating is one of the most important things you do, if not the most important. Seems rather odd to not know or plan how that is going to happen, don't you think? You do now. No. There it is. Stop cricketing. Gotta have fun, man. So where was I? Oh, man. Okay. Controlling your food environment is just that. You keep foods that you want to eat in the spaces you are in and the ones you don't out. This removes the option of making poor choices since they are not around to be made. There are essentially 4 different food environments that we encounter: home, work, restaurants, and family. You may have more, but these are the common ones. It goes without saying that your home is where you have the greatest control. It's also the place that will most likely require the most change. Okay, and I got 2 paragraphs here, and I'm undecided. I put notes for myself. I'm undecided on these 2 paragraphs, but both still need revision. So basically what I'm saying is one of these paragraphs is going to get not included in the article and the other one is. So I'm going to read both though. Okay, so they're saying the same thing in a different way. In order to pull this off, you will need to plan when to grocery shop, cook, and eat. You will need to sit down and plan what each meal of the day is going to be, when to grocery shop for those meals, and when to cook them. This is much easier if you eat the same things throughout the week and switch it up the following week if you choose to do so. Or you can keep it the same. It is up to you and your palate. I eat a lot of beef, chicken, potatoes, rice, and salads, the same foods every week. Protein shakes too. It's pretty bland and boring. I'm not big on flavor, I'm big on nutrition. and ensuring my body is getting the nutrients it needs in the right amounts. But it is your plan. Put as much or little time into it as you like. Second paragraph. The personal skill that will be developed is planning. This is a big jump in skill set for plenty of people. Most people just run their day like they did the day before without much thought. Changing how your day runs, which you'll have to do to some degree depending on how different it is from what you are currently doing, is going to need a plan and effort. Discipline in parentheses. For nutrition, there are a few things that will need to be considered and planned out. Planning is a critical skill to improving how efficiently you use your time. And when you get good at doing it for your nutrition, it becomes a life skill you can apply to anything you'd like to improve or change. So tally-ho. Yeah, I don't know about that paragraph. I don't have much to say about it. You're going to have to plan, right? Have to. You're going to want to plan. If you don't know that, hey, I'm going to be at the grocery store this day to get these foods, because the kind of foods we're talking about don't last very long. Salad, fruits, meats. You're not going to have boxes of stuff most likely when you get to this level. You can have some, but again, you're controlling the environment. I don't have those things in my condo. Because if I did, they would get eaten. I'm not superhuman. I'm just not, I just know what my body's going to get me to do at 8 or 9 o'clock at night. And if there's a box of Cheez-Its, I don't even like Cheez-Its. What would I eat? Chicken and biscuits. If you remember those. Yeah, if those were in the house, they would get eaten. There's no doubt about it. So guess what? They're not in the house. So that means I have to plan, although I don't plan anymore because I already planned it. I have to make sure I'm going to the grocery store and getting the foods that I need so I have food to eat. I have to know when I'm going to cook it. And this is the same thing I did with Jeremy. No, I didn't. Did with Ryan Mars, episode 35 or whatever it was. We went in and kind of talked about when was he going to grocery shop? What foods was he going to get? How much food was he going to cook? How many meals did he need? Now you plan it out. It sounds like a big pain in the butt. But let me tell you, you do that for 3 months. You say, I'm going to do this for 3 months. It's going to be way easier at the end of 3 months. It's going to start to become kind of like part of your day, hey, I do this on Monday. I do this on Thursdays. It's just what I do, right? So who do you want to be? Do you want to be somebody that's controlled by food or somebody that's controlling food? That's what you got to figure out. Back to the article. Don't think you're going to nail the first plan you put together. You won't. It will need revision. Set a weekly recurring appointment with yourself. I'll say it again. Set a weekly recurring appointment with yourself to look at your plan and create changes if necessary. Taking the time to plan saves time by making you more efficient once you get your rhythm. It is an invaluable tool and skill well worth developing. Again, it's the hardest at first, and the more you do it, the easier it gets. And then before you know it, it's just part of your day. And then you're like, oh my God, remember a year ago when I would I'd run off to the grocery store and I'd buy whatever, and I had no idea what was going on. My life was chaotic. And now look at this organization I have around my food right now. And whoa, what do you know? I've lost 10, 15 pounds or 30 pounds or whatever the situation is. Or, hey, I got, because there's a lot of undereaters too, right? Undereating protein in their energy intake. And whoa, I'm not tired anymore. Hey, and I'm not getting sick because I'm getting enough energy and amino acids in for my immune system to function properly. And oh, hey, right? Like, stop just bopping along and running into walls all the time. Man, you need to do this. God, I'm getting fired up, boy. All right, so now we're going to go through the different environments. So you're going to need a plan. We talked about planning, and I'm going to talk about how to kind of attack these different environments. I don't even remember what I said about home, but it's got 2 big paragraphs. So here we go. Home is the place for an overhaul. It's the foundation of your existence, which it really is. After your body, creating a foundation, double word, I don't like that, for who you are in the world. Let's become someone who prioritizes their health. Wow. We're going to get the garbage out and the groceries in. There are 2 ways to do that. Take the band off slowly or rip it off. Both work. It's just a matter of preference. In the first scenario, you are going to throw out or donate the foods that are deemed to be unhealthy and replace them with the ones that are considered healthy. In the slow scenario, you're going to only purchase healthy foods from now on and let the old ones be consumed until they run out. And then you don't buy them again. Yeah, buddy. I like that. Second paragraph. Make no mistake about it. You are going to struggle in this new environment, your home, for some time. You have ingrained behaviors and biological drives that are going to fight for their own survival, which is a way of saying this is going to be harder than you'd like and take longer than you think. But over time, you will become acclimated to your new environment as those old ways, those old yous, in the quotations, die off. And that is more to read here, but that is literally what is happening. You are not just your consciousness and what you think about. You are not just your body. You are the totality of those things. And in your behaviors are represented physiologically somewhere in your nervous system, into your muscles, into your bones. Those behavior patterns, which when you're sitting there on the couch and you think, oh, I should go get some ice cream, or you think, oh, I should go grab or whatever the behavior pattern is that you keep doing that you know you don't want to do anymore. That's part of who you are. There's physical cells that are structured in a way in your nervous system and throughout your body that are getting you to do those things, okay? Those need to die. Those cells and the structure of those cells need to die and be replaced with new ones. Literally, you're going to kill some of yourself. This will happen in phases with easy and hard days and weeks. Not written so good. Big mental shifts happen around 2 to 3 weeks, 2 to 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, and 18 months. When you make it to 12 months, you won't believe how you used to eat. It will seem so foreign to you that you will think it was a different person. And it was. We become what we do. You are now doing something very different from what you did. You are a different person at this point, which was the goal all along. Whether you knew it or not, you have to become a different person if you want to do something different. What you're doing is integrally tied to you. Okay. All right. So that's home. And that's going to be the biggest challenge, right? But when you get that solidified, locked up, that's 80% of the battle. And you're going to feel pretty good about who you are and what you can do. I'll tell you that much. Okay. Work. When it comes to work, your best approach is to apply an old skill. Yes or no? Pack a lunch. Yes. Everything else? No. That's that. I've never seen a workspace that had good food options. And even if there is, you still don't know everything that the foods are made of and could still eat too much. If your situation is different, plan off of that and stick with it. Good for you. For most people, work is not a good food environment, period. Packing a lunch and saying no to everything else is usually best. If you go out to eat for lunch, restaurants are next. Restaurants. The best strategy here is to have 1 or 2 go-to meals that fit your goals. And simply order them every time without question. Take the decision right out of the equation. And that is really it. That's what I do. I've got 1 or 2 go-to meals. If it's Saturday and I'm not worried about my calories, I'm going to just get something I enjoy. You know what? I got my burger go-to. I usually don't get the fries. That's just way too much to digest for me at this age. But I'll get that big, nasty burger and enjoy every minute of it. And there's no, I should eat that. I feel bad. No, I'll do that no more. Or, hey, if it's like I'm going out after this, going to meet somebody for dinner, I'm not going to get nasty in the middle of a week. I just don't want to do that because it does weigh me down a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get probably some chicken and some rice and a salad. That's my go-to when I'm going out to eat, or a big salad with chicken on it. The other one I'll do is a steak and potato. So I guess I got 3. Again, this will be hard at first, but easier as time goes by. For the first few times you do this, you're going to be like, ugh. And a nice perk, and this is great, and I'm not kidding on this, and a nice perk is that you are right into connecting with your lunch friends. No time spent on deciding what to eat. That I'm telling you, and that is really wild because you'll notice that you got to sit there for 5 to 7, maybe 10 minutes while people are trying to decide what they want to eat because they can't have a conversation and figure out what they're going to eat. So you're just kind of sitting there watching people. It's kind of funny. All right. Last one. This is a big one. It's family. What do I got for family? Nope. That's what we got. Family. Gotta love them. Advanced level only. No joke. Family is a powerful thing. It may be better just to call it with family visits and eat whatever is being served. Just make sure that this isn't an excuse to eat like a fool. Once you have built up your discipline and confidence around nutritioning yourself, then it may be time to take this on. The family drama that can ensue after rejecting mom's spaghetti and bringing your own meal is tough to navigate. You may be able to, just keep in mind that being the weirdo, in quotes, at the family get-together isn't always necessary if you are doing things right the rest of the time. I spent a decade or so doing this, and looking back, I could have been more flexible and enjoyed myself and my family more instead of being hung up on what I was eating. Being flexible and taking in the big picture is wisdom. Also, don't go in there and force your beliefs on everyone. That just makes you a jerk. Go in there and love your family. That's all we can really do. And I'm 100% serious on that with family. Like, I don't think it's worth the battle. Unless you're doing it, unless it's like every week and you go, then maybe you're going to have to figure something out. And they're going to have to just accept that, hey, listen, I'm changing the way I eat. I'm over here every week. I can't blow it weekly like this. But if it's once a month or once a quarter or whatever, you're going at the holiday or whatever, right? Like, hey, you just go in there and don't worry about it. You're going to be okay because your home's good. You're taking care of things at work, right? You know what to do when you go to a restaurant. It's a very small fraction of your time. I wouldn't go nutty about it. It's not worth the battle. I mean, I was super strict. I didn't eat a dessert for 4 years when I was 21 to 25. Literally didn't. I can remember sitting at a restaurant and, I got whatever I got back then, which was always like a salad and chicken, no dressing, of course. And I remember looking at another table and there was a big dessert over there and I hadn't even seen a dessert or something. I remember looking at it and it just repulsed me because I was like, all that is like melted animal fat and sugar. And I was like, bleh. I mean, now I love dessert. But I was super fanatical back in my 20s and I don't think it yielded much benefit, to be honest. Other than alienating myself and being called a health nut all the time. All right. Last section. We're going to roll with it. Adjusting macros. And this is unfinished completely. This is just some blurbs that I have. So I'm just going to talk about the blurbs that I got. There's nothing. I have some paragraphs to read, but they're not rewritten at all. They're just kind of thrown down. I'll just talk about whatever I got and we'll go from there. But it should be good enough to kind of cover kind of the concept of counting macros, which I think you guys have some gist of already. Adjusting macros is what I'm calling it. Name could change. Skill level is advanced. Knowledge gained, how to optimally nutrition your body. Ability gained is numbers. I talk a little bit about numbers. Numbers, I'm just going to read it, so I'm not talking about that just yet, but I do want to mention this. So the first two nutritional approaches, they are focused on the food, right? They're good food, bad food, which, we don't necessarily like, but has value. And then you get into what foods are, proteins, carbs, and fats, and vegetables, fiber and all that stuff. So you start to understand what food is, what it's made out of. But this switches gears, and we're no longer focused on the food. We're focused on what our physiology needs, right? So it's that last level where you're going to put the final piece of the puzzle together. Like, I understand food. Now I understand what my metabolism, what my body needs to run optimally. And when you got that, and you figure out this last section here, this last nutritional approach, you're going to master food and nutrition. That's what you're going to do, okay? If you want to do that, hey, there's nothing stopping you except time and effort. Something about macros I want to point out, there are two approaches to doing this, and this is something I used to work with people in this way, and I still will. I think it's a really good approach. So this is a bit of an easier approach, if you will, but what you can do is you can track and adjust. So basically, the process is you start tracking your food, okay? And then you look at, and you don't try and change anything. I'm just going to track what I'm currently eating. And then you look and you go, okay, where's my protein at? I need to get to X amount. I'm currently at X amount. So how much do I need to start increasing my protein intake? And then you work on getting your protein up to the adequate amount needed for a day. And then when you've held that for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks and you feel comfortable, like you got this down, I built it into my life, I'm cooking enough protein up, I have enough available protein, I'm always hitting my protein numbers. Now I'm going to start to adjust my total calorie intake. Okay. And this is the process. Adjust your protein, adjust your calories, because those might be low. You'd be surprised. I see plenty of people who work out regularly who just don't eat enough. And then once you get your calories where they need to be and your energy feels good, then you can start to manipulate your carbs and your fats, which you would have been doing a little bit with the calorie intake anyways. But you can say, hey, you know what? I prefer a little bit less fat, a little bit more carb. I prefer more fat and less carb, or whatever you want to do. And then you're done, right? The other thing you can do after that is you can start working on the quality of your food. You probably would have done that a little bit along the way. But that is one way to start tracking your macros and adjusting them. So it's a process. The other way is to build your meals, right? Hey, I need to get in 200 grams of protein a day, 100 grams of fat, and 300 grams of carbs. I'm going to have 3 meals, so I need to build out 3 meals that help me hit that number. And then you start to track and you're weighing and measuring and you're doing it that way. So 2 different ways, both getting up at the same result. One's a little more aggressive, right? I think the second one, you're going to have more planning. You're going to have to figure out how much meat you're going to buy now, how many pounds of potatoes and rice do you need, right? How much butter you need to cook this stuff up. But both will get you there and teach what you got to go. Okay, so let's read some of these paragraphs we got. Getting good and having an understanding of how to use numbers will give you more clarity in nutrition in all areas of your life than any other thing you can do. This skill enables you to guide your body toward the specific outcome you want to create with no guesswork. And that's what you get when you get numbers. Numbers are a reflection of reality, providing the clearest picture possible of it. They remove fog and haziness and confusion and provide clarity in any situation they can be applied. When you have mastered this part of your nutrition progression, this skill will enable you to improve any area of your life with more ease, understanding, and intention. It creates an incredible amount of sway. I think I had control, but I don't really like control. Numbers are going to the next level. When you start to get good at numbers, because what numbers are going to do is they're going to change your behavior if you truly understand them. You know, I think that's one of the biggest things people get out of these auras and the whoops. They get their aura, they get their whoop, they're wearing it for a week or two, and they go out and they have 5 drinks and they go, oh my God, I cannot believe what that did to my sleep numbers, what that did to my HRV, what that did to my resting heart rate. That's exactly what it did to me. I wasn't even drinking much. It was just purely coincidental, but I've heard that story so many times now where they get the stuff, they're seeing their dad, they go, oh, look at me, I'm pretty cool, you know, and then bam, literally it takes 5 days to get back to baseline after like a pretty heavy night of drinking. And that deters drinking better than anything I've ever seen. Numbers are powerful, man. And so if you can start to use them to guide your behavior, fantastic. But you can also use them to guide your body to leaner, more muscle, more energy, stronger metabolism, all that stuff by dialing in your numbers and knowing how much is going in and making sure enough of it is going in, okay? Numbers are powerful. In controlling your food environment, you learn what food is, proteins, carbs, and fats, the macronutrients. By adjusting your macronutrients, you are able to be exact with your body's nutritional needs. In this phase of your training, you will gain the knowledge of what your body needs. Oh, training, I like that. In this phase of your training, your nutritional training, I love it. You will gain the knowledge of what your body needs to nutrition it optimally. How many proteins, fats, and carbs are needed to optimize your metabolism? That's a question mark. You gain an understanding of food when you control your food environments. Counting macros is a way you gain an understanding of what your body's nutritional needs are. And in order to apply this knowledge, you need to learn a basic understanding of numbers and how to measure. So that's kind of a blurby paragraph there. If you've been controlling your food environment at home, then counting macros is just a matter of calculating what you need to measure. So I was trying to figure out and get my rhythm with what I was going to exactly say there. And it goes on and shows. So that needs to be built out a lot. I got to write a lot more for that section. Set your calorie intake, 12 to 14 pound, blah, 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 blah. And I go through the process of planning your meals and setting your macros and planning your meals around that. So the same thing we went through with Ryan. So that is that. All right, fantastic. That was hardly anything I wouldn't be able to do episode out of that. Fantastic. All right, guys, final thoughts. Let's do this. Oh, love it. Okay, so this final thought is the exact same final thought as I had last week, except I ran it through Grammarly. And I always use Grammarly when I'm writing. It does help. I don't like the way it words it. It kind of takes my personality out of it. So, but I was just like, you know what? Let's see how Grammarly thinks I should be saying this. So that's what we got. Here we go. Improving your nutrition is either a long process, a very intensive. See, the wording doesn't even work already. Improving your nutrition is either a long process, a very intensive time, or somewhere in between. Decide for yourself where to start based on the amount of stress you are currently experiencing and the amount of time and attention you have available. If you are high on stress and low on time and attention, choose something simple and easy that still moves you in the right direction. If you are low on stress and high time and attention, you can be more aggressive. Main point, don't just act. Consider what makes sense, create a simple yet intelligent plan, and then choose a starting point and execute it. Ultimately, this is how you make consistent improvements in nourishing yourself. It wasn't too much different there, but I said, how much stress are you currently incurring? And it wanted to replace that with experiencing. And I think there's a difference there. There's a nuance in words, right? Experiencing is like stress is just happening to me and how am I experiencing it? Incurring is like, no, this is actually happening, right? And there's a bit of both in that, right? If I'm going hard at the gym 5, 6, 7 days a week, I am incurring a lot of stress, right? There's no doubt about it. Experiencing would imply like, hey, I'm in this environment and I'm stressing about my finances, but I could experience that differently and lower my stress. And you could, right? You could be like, you know what? Life's good. I got good relationships. I'm not stressed about this money. I'm going to get it worked out. Or you could be like, oh my God, these bills, blah, 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 blah. When I used to have a lot of money problems. So not problems, but I stressed out about it. So that's why I use it as an example quite often. All right, here we go. Let's wrap this up. Live long and prosper, guys. And I went to the Google AI because I wasn't sure if totally nerding on this. I wasn't sure if Spock put his thumb out or held the thumb together, and I just wanted to verify. And then Google AI popped up a little statistic, a little bit of blurb about it. I thought it was interesting. Live long and prosper is a well-known Vulcan blessing from the Star Trek franchise, famously used by the character Spock. The phrase is often accompanied by the Vulcan salute, a hand gesture with fingers split between the middle and ring finger. So this salute was inspired by the Jewish priestly blessing, which Leonard Nimoy, the actor who played Spock, recalled seeing in a synagogue as a child. The phrase expresses a wish for a long and successful life. So I thought that was pretty cool. Leonard Nimoy, God rest his soul. He saw it when he was a kid, and they put it in the Star Trek trilogy there, and pretty wild. Yeah, watch that as a kid. Anyways, it's not fun. Star Trek for now. All right, guys, next episode. Mahi Alston is coming on. Yeah, that's right. About a year ago, was diagnosed with celiac disease, and we are going to talk about her experience with that because there's definitely some PSA that could go out with that. I think I didn't know much about it. I've had a much more simple view of whatever was going on with that, gluten intolerance and all that, but it's a very different thing. We're going to get into her experience, and I thought that would be pretty cool. Help us grow. Somebody that this podcast right here could help, that could have thinking about nutrition and not dieting or whatever, but learning how to progress your nutrition as a skill. If you know somebody that could benefit from that kind of thinking, please share this with them. We would love to see the whole world knowing how to take care of themselves. And like and subscribe at Apple. Apple, we got you one. Spotify or YouTube. It's probably one of you guys that are already listening and just went and clicked Apple for fun, which, hey, I appreciate you. Submit your questions to Dennis@DennisFenrich.com, and we will talk to you guys next week. Have an awesome week. And, live long and prosper. How about that? Where's my remote? See ya.